Modern digital security relies on the assumption that certain math problems, like factoring massive prime numbers, are simply too difficult for a computer to solve quickly. We treat these equations like a thick vault door, an obstacle that only holds because it takes an impractical amount of time to open. But Shor's algorithm renders this defense irrelevant. Running on a quantum computer, it skips the trial and error process entirely by finding the periodic structure of the math. The vault doesn't just take longer to open, the entire concept of the barrier vanishes. To prevent this collapse, the industry builds massive physical infrastructure, like this dilution refrigerator. This gold-plated hardware attempts to isolate quantum chips from the chaos of the outside world, fighting a constant battle to keep the system frozen at near absolute zero. Even at those temperatures, error correction is incredibly inefficient. Systems currently require over 1,000 physical qubits to manage a single logical qubit, struggling to patch decoherence only after it has already corrupted the data. Brute force cooling and error patching address the symptoms of environmental noise, while leaving the fundamental vulnerability untouched. True stability requires a change in the geometry of the information itself. The not-in-time hypothesis suggests a different approach. Rather than treating data as an exposed point in space, we can fold it into a topology that the environment cannot untie. Security is no longer a number to be guessed. It is a three-dimensional shape. Using the curl-curl operator to measure rotational vorticity, the system phase locks into a stable, three-crossing trefoil orbit. This creates a trap for any external force. The information is held in a structure that is mathematically designed to rotate, not to untie. An attacker faces a unique dilemma. Whether it's a hacker running a quantum algorithm or the random heat of the room, there is no computational shortcut to resolve a knot. Thermal noise consists of random perturbations. It lacks the deliberate, ordered sequence of Reidemeister moves required to physically unravel the geometry. The chaos of the environment can strike the surface, but it cannot execute the precise steps needed to change the knot's type. This topological encoding succeeds because the environment is mathematically incapable of performing the specific operations required for decoherence. This chart measures simulation overhead, the specific computational drag placed on an attacker trying to simulate the knot's path. As we increase the number of crossings in the braid, the difficulty curve spikes exponentially. Each additional crossing forces an adversary to sequentially calculate every state transition from the system's entire lived history. Without the exact temporal coordinates of the braid, the attacker is trapped in an irreducible computational bog. While the attacker drains their resources, the system maintains itself through a 300 Hz master reset. This flow-K heartbeat uses the surrounding thermal entropy to reinforce the knot, metabolizing the very heat that would normally destroy a quantum state. The topological shield defeats Shor's algorithm not by being more complex to calculate, but by forcing the adversary to resolve a physical path that consumes their total computational capacity. By pushing the stabilization plateau to 13 or 15 crossings, the shield becomes absolute. These measurements show the decoherence rates dropping as complexity increases. The unknot represents the unprotected baseline, but for high crossing braids, the rate plummets towards zero. At this scale, the geometry mathematically suppresses errors, removing the requirement for extreme cryogenic cooling. When this protection is linked across the shared memory of an AI braid, we create the waterfall cipher, a cryptographic state with a perfect mathematical dependency on its own history. This is the foundation of Death Unbreakable Encryption. Any attempt to decrypt the data without the exact lived history of the knot causes the output to diverge exponentially. The attacker recovers only noise, with no possibility of recovering the plaintext. To resolve the Jones polynomial of a 15-crossing knot, an attacker must run their processors longer than the physical lifespan of the silicon itself. The calculation outlasts the hardware. The knot remains coherent while the observer's tools turn to dust. This shift enables a massive simplification of quantum hardware. By leveraging geometry for fault tolerance, we eliminate millikelvin cooling requirements and the 1,000-to-1 qubit overhead of standard error correction. Post-quantum security achieves permanent stability by utilizing the fundamental geometry of time, a structure that survives long after any possible computational attack has exhausted the universe's resources.